Good morning, Chicago Cubs fans. We are back with another edition of Cubs Daily. My name is Steven Ryan. We're going to talk about how the free agent period works after the World Series ends. The Dodgers won in Game 7 on Saturday night. What an absolutely fantastic ball game. We'll briefly talk about that, but kind of get into more of the logistics of how free agency begins to work, because MLB free agency is one of the longest periods in all of professional sports. We're going to talk about what I believe the Cubs should do with Shota Imanaga. I'm going to rank the final piece of this Cubs team, and then we're going to talk about a guy we traded for at the trade deadline and whether or not we should bring him back. But before we get into all that, just want to give everyone a big thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for continuing to show out for Cubs Daily, sharing your thoughts in the comment sections below, liking the videos. All of you who have subscribed, you guys are the absolute best. If you're new and you're enjoying the content, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. It is absolutely free to support, and I appreciate all of you 100%. So let's just hop right onto it. How the free agent period works in baseball. It is a little bit different, right? So free agency begins immediately after the World Series ends, right? So the World Series ended Saturday night. The first day after the World Series, eligible players become free agents. So if you're on a team and you have an expiring contract, you are a free agent, right? Kyle Tucker, officially a free agent of the Chicago Cubs, et cetera, all the other guys who are free agents of their team as well. Also, the trade freeze is lifted, and major league players may be traded between clubs. That's absolutely fantastic here. So we can begin negotiating deals. These deals are complex and can take a lot of time. Again, the Cubs might make a trade or two, but it's going to be for a cost-controlled piece to help this team contribute in 2026. So you have 5 days to re-sign all of your players, or the players that you want, right? So the Cubs have an exclusive window right now to negotiate with Kyle Tucker and everyone else who's available, right? If they want to pick up Shota Imanaga's club option, they can do that as well. They could talk, or they could pick up their option on Kittredge. They can talk to Thielbar, et cetera, et cetera. All those players I've listed in the videos before are now able to negotiate a potential contract with the Cubs, but only the Cubs. After the 5th day, everyone is a free agent to the rest of the teams. But the Cubs have these 5 days. For example, right, if we do not pick up that team option on Shota, we're going to get into all that here in a moment. Within these 5 days, though, the Cubs have to extend him that qualifying offer if they want to try and get him back. But the quiet period ends, and Major League free agents are free to sign with any clubs as of 4 p.m. Central. That's 5 days after the World Series. So that is going to be Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Time. Full-blown free agency will begin. Now, free agency doesn't necessarily pick up in that time as well. There's a general managers meeting in middle of November, and then November 18th, the deadline for players to accept that qualifying offer will expire. So the Cubs have to offer Shota a qualifying offer if they're going to do so here by the 5th day, and then he'll have a few weeks to mull it over. The tender deadline, right? So if we're going to offer a tender to arbitration-eligible players, we have until November 21st. And then December 8th through the 11th will be the MLB winter meetings and the Rule 5 draft. I'm not sure if the Cubs are going to be partaking in the Rule 5 draft this year. They did last year. That's how we got Gage Workman. Unfortunately, that just didn't really pan out. There's some rules and regulations you got to follow on that front, but that's loosely how it kind of goes. All real free agent signings kind of pick up towards the managers, or the winter meetings in middle of December. Sometimes signings definitely happen here, maybe some lower tier signings, but again, not necessarily anything big can happen. Now we've seen big things happen in November, we've seen big things happen in December, and we've seen massive things happen in January and February as well. So you just never know in baseball. Sometimes there's just a lot of hype and build up towards those winter meetings, and sometimes nothing ever gets done. So again, if you guys want to keep it all locked in, we're going to be going over all that stuff right here on Cubs Daily, especially regarding the Chicago Cubs. Now, we all know I would like us to re-sign Kyle Tucker, but another key portion of this is, what should the Cubs do with Imanaga? There are 4 potential options that could come out to play. I've gone over it before, but we're going to go over it a little bit more in depth, right? So there is a team/player mutual option on Shota Imanaga right now. So the Cubs are going to go first in this situation. They're going to say, hey, they have an option to pick up the team option. If the Cubs pick up the team option, they're going to immediately extend Shota Imanaga for 3 years and $57 million. Okay? Now, if the Cubs choose not to do that, because I'm not sure if this team wants to lock into that long of a deal with that lockout looming, but again, if they choose not to, Shota, for the second tier, can choose his player option. And that's going to be a 1-year deal worth $15 million. I'm not sure if Shota's going to want to pick that up, but again, we shall see. Now, if both the team and the players decline those deals, then the Cubs can extend a qualifying offer. The qualifying offer is going to be worth 1 year, $22 million. That's just basically the Cubs not wanting him to walk away for free, right? But that's just at a little higher of a price tag. I'm not sure if Shota's going to want to take the team-friendly deal, et cetera, but we shall see. And if he declines the qualifying offer, Shota will become a free agent and can go sign wherever he wants. First, I want you guys to share in the comment section what you think the Cubs should do in this situation. Should we bring Shota back, sign him for 3 more years, or just send him a qualifying offer? Share down below. I personally think the Cubs should extend a qualifying offer. I know it's a little more cheddar up front. I think Shota's been really good. Unfortunately, with his age and the amount of years experience that he has in the big leagues, I don't know if there's a big enough sample size to justify 3 years, $57 million. I think that's a fantastic price for a starting pitcher of his quality. Don't get me wrong, but this last half of this season was brutal. He did show some good flashes, but in 13 of 14 starts, he gave up a home run. That's just not going to cut it at this level. You're going to give up home runs. I understand that. You cannot be giving up a home run every single start. That's just a no-go for me. So I would like Shota to come back to the Cubs, but I think on a 1-year deal. I'm just not sure how much the 3 years would be truly worth it. He is already over 30. He's not necessarily going to get better. You know what I'm saying? He kind of is what he is. And I think if the Cubs could open the door for maybe some more potential firearms to come through, I think that is the move, because I think that's what this team needs. We're going to get to the bullpen here in a moment in grading the Cubs, and we'll talk about that as well. But this team needs more punch from the pitching position. And as much as I love Shota, he is not necessarily a fireballer. He is a play-some kind of guy. He's a deceptive guy. And again, when you're deceptive, that's great. If it's working, it's fantastic. But if it's not working, it is a problem. And it was a problem in the postseason. We could not trust him to go in Game 5 against the Brewers. Every Cub fan out there was crapping their pants at the thought of him potentially pitching in Game 5, because we knew what was possible. We saw what happened in Game 2 and Game 2 of the wild card. Hopefully Shota can figure it out. I just don't know if I want that to be as a Cub. I'm willing to extend that qualifying offer, see if we can get 1 more year out of him before entering that deadline, because I would like to see how he adjusts to Major League hitting, figuring him out a little bit, right? First year, he was really, really good. He was one of the best pitchers in baseball. The second year, the second half, again, the injuries might have affected him, but we just don't know what we're getting, right? Are we getting that first-year Shota or the second-year Shota? And I would like to see a third year from him before I have to make a financial commitment of massive propriety to him. Now, maybe, just maybe, the Cubs pick up that team option and try and work out a deal with another team to bring on more talent. Again, Jed is always working behind the scenes. I know. Please save the comments. I know Jed doesn't spend money, even though it's not his money to spend. It's the Ricketts that's the problem. That's the issue you guys have with. Jed does get creative, though. He tries to make deals to make this team better. You have to give him credit on that front. So I think the Cubs should extend the qualifying offer. I do not think they should pick up the team option. If he picks up the player option, that's fantastic. I don't think he'll do that. But again, that's what I think we should do with Shota Imanaga. Please let me know your thoughts down below. blow. Okay, so I'm going to be rounding out grading the Cubs here. So I'm not really going to get into the bench, like Willie Castro and all those guys. They didn't give me enough of a sample size, right? Owen Casey had some flashes. I can't really grade him on that. I did the solid 9 positions, the pitching staff, and the bullpen for this little series that I had. And I'm going to give the Cubs bullpen a B+. You're going to be like, Steven, that is absolutely insane. They gave up runs in the postseason. Well, they were 3rd in the National League in ERA behind the Padres and the Brewers. I don't know if the Brewers bring that bullpen necessarily back next year. And the Padres, well, they have Mason Miller. He's just a cheat code. So, again, I think this bullpen did a great job for what it was asked to do. And it also, again, there are games the Cubs should have won in the postseason. You got to be able to score runs. Plain and simple. There are more holes to focus on than necessarily the bullpen. Now, obviously, I think we need to bring Brad Keller back, Caleb Thielbar. I'm kind of hit or miss on Andrew Kittredge personally. I don't necessarily want to pick up a $9 million option on him, but I did like him. I didn't mind him, but again, I really think the Cubs need to focus on bringing impact pitching in. Guys who throw 99, 100 miles an hour. We only have one guy in the bullpen. Brad Keller kind of got close, but we really have one guy who could consistently hit 100 miles per hour, and that's Danny Palencia. And I would like to see Danny Palencia come back next season and really take that mantle as our closer. We gave him the runway, the leeway. I personally wanted to trade for Mason Miller, but seeing that what his price was, we weren't going to get him. So let's see Danny Palencia take that next step, become our full-time closer, and let's see if we can get some good, solid bullpen arms around him. Drew Pomeranz, I would bring him back as well on another one-year deal. Now, bullpens are kind of weird. Bullpens are tricky because next year, Pomeranz, Thielbar, Brad Keller, all those guys could go to crap. Remember, Brad Keller was on the Sox, and the White Sox didn't even want him. You think the White Sox could use good bullpen arms? Absolutely. So again, you just never know. Bullpens are so year to year. I think Jed and Craig did a really, really good job with the bullpen this year, and that's why I'm giving it a B+. Could it be better? Absolutely. But again, we won 92 baseball games. The usage on our pitchers was fantastic. That's a compliment to Craig Counsell and how he managed them. I know you guys do not like Craig, but he's kind of decent at his job. Just kind of decent. I'm not saying he's great, but he knows how to manage the bullpen. I know there's a lot of old school thinking in terms of the way baseball goes, but these are the way the numbers go. These are the guys that handle it. And we got into the wild card. We got to the DS, and we got to within one game of the NLCS. So something went right. It didn't go completely correct, but something went right to get us to that point. You know what I'm saying? Again, I think we need to focus on some contact hitting. Maybe find a way to get a Kyle Tucker-like bat in the lineup again, and then I think we're ready to compete in 2026. But we know what we got to deal with. We're going to have to deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Brewers will be solid again. The Padres are going to be solid again. I imagine the Phillies will be good. The Braves, the Mets, they're all going to be good teams. We just have to figure out a way to combat those guys. So let's wrap it up here. We traded for Mike Soroka at the trade deadline. We really didn't give up all too much. Unfortunately, he only went like 2 1/3 inning before his had shoulder soreness. But this is the guy the Cubs have been targeting for, I believe, a year or two now. They wanted him in free agency, but he decided to sign with the Nationals for whatever reason. And I'm not sure if the Cubs should bring this guy back or not. I'm not sure what kind of deal he will be inquiring about, but if it's going to be a team-friendly deal, like a 1-year, $4 or $5 million deal, I think it's absolutely worth a flyer on Mike Soroka. Now, again, he doesn't qualify for the type of pitcher I want. I really need some people that throw some heat. Plain and simple. We just don't have that on this ball club. Cade Horton and Danny Palencia are our 2 best pitchers that throw absolute cheddar on the bump. So if Mike Soroka comes back, I'm okay with it, but I'm not against it if there's a way you can upgrade in that sense, right? My projected starting rotation, this is me thinking the Cubs are not bringing back Imanaga in the sense, but Cade Horton, it's going to be Jameson Taillon, Colin Ray, Justin Steele will return to the club. I'm just not sure if it's going to be right away or, in May or something like that, and Javier Assad. / maybe a little more Ben Brown action. I could imagine 2026 being a much more developmental type year for the Cubs, but we will see how that all pans out over this next month or two, right? This is going to be free agency. It's going to be an absolutely wild time. So again, if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you like the video. Stay locked into Cubs Daily. I'll be back tomorrow in the next one. I'm going to be doing a little more free agent projections, talking about some more free agents that I think might fit the Cubs, so on and so forth. So I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic start to your week, and I will see you guys in the next one.